compared to cross-culture interactions, and the use of formal languages and messages that emphasize law and regulations when interacting with perpetrators high on uncertainty avoidances helps to better align communication across cultures.
Power distance. This is the extent to which the lower-ranking individuals in society accept and expect that power is distributed unequally. According to the articulatedceo.com, if someone from a low power distance country has to deal with someone in a high power distance culture, nothing is going to happen without the bosses say so.
And lastly, we have masculinity versus femininity. Masculinity is seen to be the trait which emphasizes ambition, acquisition of wealth, and differentiated gender roles, while femininity is seen to be the trait which stresses caring and nurturing behaviors, sexuality, equality, and environmental awareness, and more fluid gender roles.
After learning about the dimensions of culture, which will help you navigate conversation, next we will understand the dark sides of intercultural communication.
Dark side of intercultural communication is the communication that results in negative outcomes.
Firstly, we have stereotypes. Now, stereotypes are very common, I'm sure everybody hears them very often, and they assume that cultural groups share certain characteristics, and it's not based on data at all. It is based solely on personal perception. An example of this is that men are greater than women, or that blondes are unintelligent. Those are common ones. And according to Simply Psychology, a disadvantage of stereotyping is that it makes us ignore differences between different cultures, and this makes us think things that are not true.
Prejudice is a negative perception that one may hold about another culture group. This can be a liking or a disliking for one another, especially without a good reason. A study done by two university professors, Lauren Rivers and Andreas Tilsalk, showed that upper-class white males were much more likely to be called back for a job interview by a law firm than equally as qualified white females.
Racism is the oppression and discrimination against people of color and other ethnic groups. In fact, racism not only a network of attitudes, beliefs, and convictions, it also refers to behaviors, practices, and actions. According to the Sentencing Project, police officers are more likely to stop black drivers than white drivers. Once pulled over, people of color are more likely than whites to be searched and are more likely than whites to be arrested.
And lastly, we have assumed similarity or differences. When you have no information about a new culture, it makes sense to assume that there's no differences. According to graduateaway.com, a Danish woman left her baby in a stroller outside a restaurant in New York. While she was inside, later she was charged for endangering her child, but the woman said that leaving children unattended outside cafes in Denmark is very common.
As stated in the book Communication Well by Robert McDougall, ethnocentrism refers to the notion that one's own culture, patterns, beliefs, and values are normal to any other. For example, throughout Asia, the way of eating is to use chopsticks with every meal. These people may find it unnecessary to find that people in other societies, such as the American society, eat using forks, spoons, and knives. Now that we understand the dark side of intercultural communication, wouldn't you like to know about the benefits of becoming interculturally competent? So how to be competent? According to Monash University, intercultural competence is the ability to function effectively across cultures, to think and act appropriately, to communicate and work with people from different cultural backgrounds at home or abroad.
Firstly, a benefit of becoming culturally competent is self-awareness. Self-awareness is becoming aware of your own characters, motives, and desires. According to a study by Harvard Business Review, there are two kinds of self-awareness. Firstly is internal self-awareness. Internal self-awareness represents how clearly we see our own values, passions, and ambitions. It also defines our feelings of our strengths and our weaknesses. Versus external self-confidence and self-awareness. External is how other people see us. And research shows that people who are more aware of how other people see us are more empathetic and better at taking people's perspectives, which is a good quality to have. And it's important to have a good balance of both internal and external self-awareness when you are dealing with intercultural communication.
Next, we have attitude and the way you perceive yourself to others. Attitude is the curiosity and openness towards other cultures. According to Intercultural Learning in the Classroom, Cross Borders by Karen Hopgood, this also involves a willingness to question assumptions and previous knowledge about other cultures as well as our own.
Knowledge. According to acc.org, the intercultural knowledge and competence rubric suggests as a systematic way to measure our capacity to identify our own culture patterns, compare and contrast them with others, and adapt empathetically and flexible to unfamiliar ways of being. Examples are learning about the difference in people's types of behaviors, politeness, manners, language, differences in religion, values, and attitudes.
And lastly, we have skills. According to BritishCouncil.org, intercultural skills are the abilities to understand different cultures, contexts, and viewpoints. For example, being aware and working at controlling your own biases which could affect others, being aware of a person's own culture, values, and biases.
Now that we have a clear understanding of what intercultural communication is and the major basis of co-culture, the three perspectives of intercultural communication, dimensions of culture, the dark side of intercultural communication, and how to become interculturally competent, now you all do as well.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Men hate each other because they fear each other, and they fear each other because they don't know each other, and they don't know each other because they are often separated from each other."
Now that we understand intercultural communication and the different levels of it and how you can become more interculturally competent, I encourage you all to become more aware of the cultures around you. I encourage you all to focus on the dark sides that we talked about and avoid the obvious ones. Avoid stereotyping others, avoid racism, and avoid all of those components, because it's important when you are communicating with other cultures to understand the cultures around you so you can work as a team and in collaboration. And now we have a video skit to show you of the different greetings from around different cultures, because we have to understand that not everyone greets each other the same way, and certain greetings from some cultures might be offensive in others.